Good evening. Welcome to tonight, July 17, 2023, to the Village Council regular session. Call this meeting to order. If we would, join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for joining tonight. We'll just take a quick moment of silence to gather our thoughts here and start off with the meeting. Christian, with that, if you would take a roll call, please.
Trustee Fields, Trustee Holmes, Trustee Olson,
Here.
Trustee Reister,
Here.
Trustee Wagner,
Here.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Here.
President Frisbee.
Here, let it be noted that Trustee Fields and Trustee Holmes were both excused. We have an agenda in front of us tonight. I'm going to make one addition under 7.7a. We'll address the dangerous building. We have a gentleman here tonight that's going to speak to us. Is there any other changes, additions to the staff? We're good, council? Okay, entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move as amended. Support.
Motion by President Pro Tem Keller, support by Trustee Wagner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We have an agenda for tonight. We have our village attorney. We've talked about Ms. Kaufman on a couple of occasions, and she joined us tonight. Thank you for coming in, but we'll have to go into a closed session for that short interim, so.
President Frisbee, I move that the village council meet in closed session under section 8(1)(h) of the Open Meetings Act pursuant to section 13(1)(g) of the Freedom of Information Act to consult with our attorney regarding a written legal opinion.
Trustee Wagner, I support.
Motion by Keller, support by Wagner. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. So if you would entertain us for a moment, we'll go into closed session and we'll be back shortly. entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
President Frisbee, I so move that we come out of closed session and back into regular open session.
Support, Reister.
Motion made by trustee Keller, support by trustee Reister. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
trustee Reister, President Frisbee.
Yes, so we're back in public session. Thank you all. Now we have public officials. We didn't have anybody scheduled. Motion to go back into,
President Frisbee, I make a motion that we proceed as recommended in our attorney's opinion
And to direct me to follow up.
and director to follow up on it.
Support.
yes, I was jumping ahead. Motion made by trustee Wagner, supported by President Pro Tem Keller. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Reister, trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ms. Kaufman. So that takes us to citizens' comments for agenda items only. Oh, 7A, I even wrote in there. We do have a 7A, and I apologize for jumping around. We have discussion about dangerous buildings ahead of us, and I thought.
Let me go get Mr. Graham. I think he's outside. You can introduce yourself to the
Okay.
council and we're.
Hi.
talk about-
I'm Scott Graham, and I have been handling a couple of matters for you related to dangerous buildings. I've done dangerous building matters for the village for some time. They come up occasionally. They seem to come up, not so much on a regular basis, but periodically they come up. And so if I could take just 1 second to let you know that we have a very specific procedure in place that is based upon a couple of Michigan statutes. The statutes provide a definition for what would constitute a dangerous building. And the village is fortunate to have a highly qualified building inspector. And we have located a hearing officer who's also highly qualified. And so if in fact a property owner wishes to dispute the dangerous building procedure or allegation, they are free to do that and they're entitled to a hearing. Now, if I could address specifically the two matters that we are working on right now. One of them is a property located at 513 East Prairie Street. And we actually reached an agreement with the property owners today. That's a property that is owned by Mr. and Mrs. Knowles. And the agreement we reached today, I think, is very favorable to the village for these reasons. What often happens in a dangerous building situation is that matters kind of get, if you will, kicked down the road a little bit. And the reason is everyone, I think, is very sensitive to the fact that a property owner has rights that the village doesn't want to take away unless absolutely appropriate. So one of the things that happens is that after the passage of time, it becomes crucial to, if you will, fix or carve in stone the drop dead date for trying to, or giving any property owner the right and the time to fix a condition that has risen to dangerousness. We did that in this case in the agreement. The owners the owners have agreed that they will have a period of 60 days to fix the property. Fix it, by fixing it, let me define that. What that means is that they have the obligation within 60 days from tonight or today to have a full and complete inspection of all of the property, including the structures on the property. And that inspection will be conducted by the village's building inspector. And if there are any, if you will, zoning enforcement issues kind of based on the land, then they have to pass that inspection as well. If they do not, on the 61st day, the village has the absolute right to remedy the problem, most notably by potentially demolition of any buildings that are non-compliant. So we have fixed that date. And if in fact we just continued on with the process, it's very possible it could have dragged out for the 60 days. We have eliminated the uncertainty, and I think that's a huge, huge plus for the village. Second, there's another provision that I think is very, very important. What happens in all of these situations is that if there are village expenses that are incurred, then of course those are presented to the property owner for reimbursement and payment. It's often difficult to collect those amounts, and the remedy that a community has is to then place a lien on the property and put the amount on the tax rolls. Well, sometimes that works great, sometimes it doesn't. But what the owners here agreed to do is post a bond in the amount of $25,000 for the purpose of reimbursing the village for its costs if that becomes necessary. Now, listen, if they get the property and the structures all plumbed up and everything is good, then of course they're entitled then to seek permission to use the property like anyone else would be, because they'd be in full compliance with all of the statutes and with the building code. And I hope that they do. But I have to tell you, I've done an awful lot of these in a lot of communities, and I don't mean to be skeptical, because this has nothing to do with these particular owners, but the odds are, well, they rarely get, the work rarely gets done. So then, to have this $25,000 bond, I think is a huge plus for the village, because then the village has $25,000 in reimbursement sitting there, as opposed to placing the cost on the tax rolls. Putting the cost on the tax rolls is, it's what the law allows. It's far from a perfect way to go, far from a perfect way to go. So I think that there are two very, very favorable provisions, having the deadline carved in stone and having the bond, that go along with the fact that the village retains 100% control to do the inspection of the property, and placing the burden on the property owners to get that inspection done in a satisfactory way. And I just think it's a very good agreement for the village. The second property is slightly different. It is the property located at 640 Best Street. Of course, that residence on that property was badly damaged by fire. In this particular situation for 640 Best Street, we served notice on the owner of what we were intending to do, including having the building declared to be dangerous. The owner was advised to be here at this time and place. The owner has not appeared. We, of course, did, as we always do, we did a title search to make sure that we're accurate in terms of who the owners are, and it may or may not surprise you that sometimes the true owner isn't exactly who, the community might think it is, but in this case, we have that pinned down. So the owner of that property is in default. Now, this is essentially how the mechanism works. When we give notice, we don't just say, come in because you have a dangerous building. We say that under Michigan law, your building is dangerous as defined by the law for these reasons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have a right to come in and refute that, absolute right to do that. They have a property interest in that property. They can come in and prove that we are wrong. When they don't even appear to contest that, then from my perspective, they're in default and the village can move forward. Now, in this case, I did prepare an agreement in case the owner showed up that was, it was an agreement, but it was different than the other agreement in this regard. With this property, there's no reason to give the owner time to go in and make the repairs. The agreement said that if they wanted to enter into that agreement, if they signed off, that the village could proceed immediately to do the whatever work the village determined to be appropriate. Well, if the owner had appeared, I would have, I was actually kind of waiting in case the owner showed up at 7, and we would have talked about it. Maybe they would have signed, maybe they wouldn't have. But not only did they not appear, but because they had specific notice of the allegations, they've defaulted on those. So we can go move forward with whatever action the village determines to be appropriate with that property based upon the default. And I will prepare documentation that will support that. So those are the only two that we have in the pipeline. Again, they always start slow, but once we get to this point, again, we've got to, when we tell people they have to come in and actually answer for the building before you and with an inspector and a hearing officer, it kind of pushes things to a head. Again, it's kind of slow moving. We have to take a number of steps under the statute to make sure everything is done right. But at this point, in regard to Best Street, I will, starting tomorrow, work with Jim to allow him and allow the village to make a determination about how it wishes to proceed. And then on the Knowles property, again, 60 days, and on the 61st day, the village can do what it wants. Again, with luck, everything will be all set. But if not, your rights are fixed, carved in stone, if you will. So that's my report on these two properties. Again, the only two we have in the pipeline. And if anyone has questions, be happy to try to answer those. But otherwise, we're going to proceed just as I've described, and and go from there.
The property on Best Street, I assume that nobody is living in that.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yes. That would be a much more significant and immediate problem. And that's not the case. So anyway, if there are no questions, it was nice to come in and introduce myself to you. And Jim, I will be in touch.
No, I appreciate that, Scott, and I also want to recognize Chris Hamilton as well as David for coming in today and being prepared if someone showed up.
Sure.
Chris Hamilton runs our building inspections. You've heard me talk about her, and probably been a while since we've been here in person, but she is an excellent member of the team and very proud of all she accomplishes for us. So appreciate that, and thank you. And like Ms. Kaufman, your guys' time's valuable. I know you all have families, so we're good with stepping out, I believe. President Frisbee, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Sure thing.
Thank you.
I couldn't get 7A and 7B right either, so. Thank you so much for your help. All right. So now we can move on. Citizens' comments for agenda items only. This would be the time to speak to that if you wish. And we don't have anybody online, so we'll move to the general consent agenda. We have our minutes of our regular council meeting, June 26, 2023. Warrant reports a total $185,532.52. Our 2022-2023 fourth quarter amendments, and event request for the Historic Village on July 25th and the Farmers Market at the Pavilion. So everyone had an opportunity to review our last minutes. Was there any corrections or changes or?
Go ahead. I had a quick question. Are they gonna do farmer's market on Friday and then again on Saturday?
The Friday is
The 18th?
this week, right?
I have, they're gonna do it Friday downtown because of the B&B going on at the Historic Village
gonna say,
Thursday
Okay,
through Saturday with cleanup being Sunday. So the farmer's market will be downtown on Main Street as it's the third Friday of the month.
okay.
The other one item I need to make sure, as the councils has in their packet, the minutes from the closed session on the 26th.
Yeah.
It just hit me as I looked up, it's, the closed session minutes aren't listed there, but your approval of the general consent agenda would include the closed session minutes of the
Right.
closed session on the 26th. I
Understand.
just wanted to make sure that as you go to approve that, that's noted. And sorry, Trustee Olson, I jumped.
No,
or else
that's
I
all
would have
right.
forgot, but
Yeah.
did that answer your question?
Yeah, I
Okay.
said, I didn't realize they were gonna be, I forgot they were gonna be downtown that day.
On August 18th, though, is a separate event
Okay,
from the farmer's market.
right.
So.
And they're in the historical village. Yeah.
Correct.
On that one.
So
Okay.
on that date, they will be, I don't know, no, the 17th is not a third Friday. So they will be out there Friday at their normal time from 2 to 6 p.m. for the farmer's market.
Okay.
The event on Saturday is where people can come and pay. It's, I'll say like a dinner type activity, a farm to fork
Okay.
activity.
The entire population, I mean, anybody
I
can
believe
do
so,
that?
and I believe they'll be, this is their reservation of the pavilion, but they'll be marketing it, that subsequent to the approval that they'll have the spot.
Thank you.
President Frisbee, I move to approve the general consent agenda as amended to include the minutes of the closed session for June 26th.
Trustee Reister, second.
Motion by President Pro Tem Keller, second by Trustee Reister. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Yes. So we'll move on. There was no correspondence. Action items, village action items. In front of us, we have the southeast, southwest sections of West Prairie Bridge Walkway and handrail repair. I'll let Jim talk to that.
Yes, this is, would be overseen by Frederick Construction. It's to approve the village manager to enter into a contract with Frederick Construction to oversee the listed repairs not to exceed $14,036. These are cosmetic repairs to the cement portion of the bridge, so it'll be a cosmetic repair. We'll look at long-term identification. The structure was tested and is safe, but due to the age, we're gonna keep our radar open for any possible different funding sources and that to making more long-term impact on that. But this will fix the cosmetics of it.
Well, I know my memory's not the best, but hadn't we already approved this? And
No,
did
you,
we have discussion about?
you approved, an engineer to come in and study to ensure that it is just cosmetic and not structural damage.
Right.
And didn't they do some work down below to,
Yes, the engineering firm did an evaluation, that we could look at different stages, that the structure was still, at this time, safe.
Well, we have a request in front of us to enter into a contract with Fredericks to make the listed repairs not to exceed $14,036.
Trustee Reister, so moved.
Trustee Wagner, support.
Any further discussion on this or questions of staff on it? If not, we have a motion made by Reister, a support by trustee Wagner. We'll do a roll call, please.
Trustee Reister,
yes,
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. And we have some work that needs to be done at the well house pump at Angels Crossing.
Yeah, this was the well house that was impacted. We had a contractor building a house at CV McDonald Way. A subcontractor of theirs did not call for misdig, and upon digging, hit some major power lines that backfed the pump of our irrigation well. We needed to get a replacement temporary pump this was in June during drought conditions. And then the cost in front of the council tonight is the replacement of the irrigation pump, as well as surge protection and a cellular alarm dialer. So a recommendation is to approve the village manager to enter a contract with Peerless Midwest for an amount not to exceed $33,782. We are paralleling this, working with our own insurance company at Angels Crossing, that insures Angels Crossing Golf Course, as well as pursuing avenues to hold the contractor or subcontractor responsible, as it was identified. It was a back surge at the time they hit the power line. So those are being done, but we do need to get a permanent pump in to ensure irrigation continues, so.
President Frisbee, I move to approve.
Trustee Wagner, support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, support by trustee Wagner. We'll do any discussions on this?
Yeah, Jim, so they're actively gonna go after the sub who hit this?
We're working that out through, we made sure our insurance company knows, which we would, last case, seek reimbursement from our own insurance, but we're trying to we're trying to make sure we follow the proper procedure to hold who we believe was responsible for this. So, and I've had communications with the general contractor.
So best case scenario, we'll be expending this, or worst case scenario, we'll be expending this. Best case scenario, the village will be out zero because of this.
Correct.
Which is
Angels,
reimbursed.
right now, this uses Angels Crossing funds, so it's not general fund money or any tax dollars, but we will be seeking reimbursement of those funds, preferably from who we feel is responsible for the actions, or through our own insurance.
Any other questions? Well, we have a motion made by President Pro Tem Keller, supported by trustee Wagner. We'll do a roll call, please.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
yes,
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes.
Probably is.
So we have some open, as you all are aware, we had 3 board members that their time was up for the planning commission and the DDA. We did take some applications and vetted a few people, but I have recommendations for 3. And one of them is special. I told him how special he was, but Mr. Wartella would like to stay on for another year, and he's given a lot to this community. He is a qualified non-resident on the committee, so he does have that option. So Mr. Don Wortilla and Mr. John DeBalt would still like to stay on. He was very adamant. He's a big part of what we do. And we have a new gentleman I'd like to recommend, Mr. Riashi, is Nick Riashi. He lives at Gardner Lane. He's not how long a resident you think he has been in the?
Multiple years.
Yeah, I thought he, yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
and they might be moving to a different neighborhood I think they're closing or just closed on a house in CB McDonald
Yeah,
Way.
CB McDonald. His name is Riashi, Riashi. Yeah, and, he's an employer with Southwest Michigan First. Gives us a little inside connection with those people as well, who has been a great sponsor and supporter of this village. But his business, his background is fundraising, sponsorship, business development. Pretty excited to offer him up as well. So those were the three recommendations. So John DeBalt would be the 1-year term, John DeBalt and Nick Riashi would be 3-year terms, and Mr. Wortilla would be a 1-year term. If you all were so inclined to approve that, I'd appreciate it.
I just have a comment real quick.
Yes, sir.
To the qualifications of Nick, they're outstanding. A lot of the work that he's done with Southwest Michigan First and a member of the community, I've had personal involvement with him from multiple avenues, from other nonprofit and board opportunities that I've had, and he's been nothing less than stellar and supportive of the community. So I think it's a great opportunity to get him on board. So preemptively, maybe I'd like to say thanks for even being interested and willing to jump in the ring.
So I have a request. What is this board's desire?
Trustee Wagner, I would make a motion that we accept the 3 nominations from President Frisbee.
Support.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Reister. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, thank you. We'll let them know in the morning. We have Mr. Mallory's update, our village manager's update.
Yeah, last week, unfortunately, we ran into some weather, so we had to cancel the Berg Days event on Wednesday. But fortunate, I guess, is we recognized the weather reports over 24 hours in advance. So we had built into the schedule 2 rain dates of the 23rd and August 30th. And we're fortunate that all the activities, including all of the food trucks, as well as the 2 bands scheduled to perform, all had August 23rd open. So it's just been plugged in at that date. I don't want to jinx us, but the weather's looking good for Wednesday. So we're all looking forward here in 48 hours to get going back on the Berg Days and make 6 straight weeks of fun and activities going on here in the village of Vicksburg. So you'll see, obviously, social media has been distributed. Also, what you're going to see during the Berg Days is we're going to unveil, as coming out of the council's strategic plan was finding additional avenues of communication, open transparency with citizens. We, through the budget process, entered a contract with a company called TextMyGov. Christian and I have been through a couple initial trainings, and we've been into the site. So we hope to have, and if not by Wednesday, certainly the following Wednesday, appropriate QR codes where citizens can plug in their cell phone numbers and receive our updates via text messaging to them. And it's very unique in that they can also text the number assigned to the village of Vicksburg, putting in 1-word type key if they wanted to know about events. It would take immediately to our event page on our website. It would take to ordinances. it would take them to the ordinance page or a bunch of one-word key things. So our goal is certainly to get as many cell phones inputted into the system as possible, but I certainly believe in excess of 100 a month is very doable for us if we get the word out. So you'll see that being marketed as a way to communicate with citizens. I'll pause there if there's a question on Berg Days or Text My Gov.
The one that you're just talking about for people like myself who don't know how to do any of that, can we have help with that?
We will have a help page as well. I don't know if the
Thank
word
you.
help gets you to the help page,
Yeah.
as I'm new in my own training, but I might plug that in
There's a
here
lot
as you guys are making your comments to see if it
There's a lot of
works.
people out here that don't know how to do that, so.
Right, and it's pretty interesting. We'll, at the August meeting, I was gonna unveil it tonight until I practiced earlier at home. And with the pressure of my granddaughter watching, I fumbled, so I thought it would wait till I get this down a little bit better. They were only a few days into it, but it is pretty cool service that I think we'll have. So, and there's 2 sections of it to fill. So like alerts, if we have immediate alerts to get out to people, it's we obviously have an email database that we'll continue on. We'll now have a cell number database, as well as social media. So I think it'll benefit Vicksburg and citizens and visitors alike.
Just a quick comment about the QR codes and functionality for folks that might want to get a little practice in the meantime. We have some great QR codes downtown in our social district that you can use for that, as well as at the historic village to access additional information on the structures and sites out there. So a little practice before we get that rolling out.
There we go. I have a meeting later this week. South County Community Services is going to help out. We have reserved August 24th to remind the council and citizens of Senior Berg Days. Be our first event for our senior members of our community. And so that's moving forward. We do have funding secured for it outside of our governmental money, so that's nice. But we're looking at from 11:45 to maybe 2:45 in the afternoon at the pavilion with appropriate services to expose our residents of this population to, as well as there'll be live music and food for them as well. So we're looking forward to that as a first-time event in Vicksburg, and should have a lot more to announce as we move towards that August 24th date. That's a Thursday. So, and then Village Hall, there's work being done this week. The delivery of the trust were delayed, but we just got notification today. They will be delivered Thursday. So you'll see the trust in the building framed in moving forward. And hopefully by the second week of August, we'll be scheduling some walkthroughs with council members as the framing will give a good appearance of what the building's size and practicality will be. But it's moving forward. I can't... it's just comforting every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. We have a full virtual attended by all the principal people led by Frederick's Construction. Weekly updates, forecasting out the next 2 weeks. I believe from my perspective, it's gone incredibly smooth because of that constant communication. I have another meeting tomorrow with the principal people involved in electric, IT, and all of those data points that will be throughout the building. Stuff I'm becoming proficient in plagiarizing at the last week. So I look forward to that as well. Single phase, double phase, all that key stuff, Mr. Keller.
I have one question. Jim, I'm wondering, I want to make sure I'm giving the right information to people. I had somebody ask me about the tearing down of our original building that we're using right now. And I told them that it would not be torn down until after we were into the new building. And then, am I right in saying that that eventually will be becoming a parking area?
Yes, permanent, there'll be temporary parking. We will, building's constructed, we move in with a temporary parking lot using the new facility. Old facility comes down and the final parking lot is put in place.
I'm glad, that's what I said, so
Yes.
I wanted to make sure I was.
Yes, and we're in the background right now because it'll be outside the scope of work. But I've asked Mike Frederick and his team to identify appropriate companies that could take that down to go through a bid process to see what that final cost would be.
Yeah, there's a pressure on the electricians and the supplies.
It's a key. They had me reserve 2 hours tomorrow. So anyone going into the electric field or currently in it, it's incredibly important.
Noted.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. It is pretty cool to drive by there and see the progress they're making. So it's becoming more real every day. So was that it on your wrap up, Jim?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So we have some updates. I don't believe there was a tree committee meeting.
We were supposed to have one on the 10th, but it was canceled. I'm waiting for a new date.
And Parks and Rec are committee members not here on that. CATS was canceled for July. Planning Commission. Oh, shoot, I was supposed to take notes. What did we talk about? I'll go watch it YouTube. I did attend the meeting on our behalf. Mr. Holmes was out. There really wasn't a lot. There was no decisions, there were no action items. There really wasn't a lot to report, so thank goodness. South County Sewer is next week, and the Fire Authority is this Wednesday.
Yes.
And I've been blessed to fill in for.
Yeah, Fire Authority, just so everybody knows, there will be an outline pro forma on how this new apparatus is going to be paid for. It should be available Wednesday night to the members when we have our next meeting. Well, we can probably email that out to everybody afterwards so you can all see. The plan is a three-year window. We are going to look to possibly look at refinancing. The current lease is going to be through PNC Bank, and the rate is 6.24. Don't hold me to that, but we are going to look into alternative ways of financing it, whether it's a USDA loan or whatever, to try to get that interest rate down, which will save us even more money. We do intend on putting a large down payment probably in October, which will cut the principal down quite a bit because we're accruing interest obviously on the principal. I do want to give a thank you very much to Village Manager Mallory. We had a finance meeting 2 weeks ago roughly. There was a grant that was available for rural fire authorities or fire departments. In our finance meeting, we kind of tried to check to see what the status was because the due date was that next Monday. This was the 6th, so it was a Thursday. I didn't really have a real warm fuzzy on where we were at with that, so when I left the meeting, I immediately called Manager Mallory and said, can you make a phone call for us and help us out? Well, he jumped in with Chief McMullen, and we will be getting, I believe, around $60,000 if it's all approved for grant money, which originally we were only looking at $10,000, but because we are 6 entities, we're going to be getting $60,000 in grant money. It cannot be used for the apparatus. It has to be earmarked for basically, I would call it consumables, but life safety, turnout gear, that kind of stuff. So, but that'll still impact the authority dramatically. So, having said that, we did approve the bylaws for having an alternate member. I cannot be there Wednesday night because I have a work function and I can't get out of it. So President Frisbee was set as my alternate from the get-go. I would like somebody to motion and approve, just so it's in the minutes that we officially did that. I don't want to do it because it's a conflict of interest a little bit, so I would rather have somebody else so that he can at least take my spot on Wednesday night. So it's in the minutes.
Trustee Wagner, I'll make that motion.
Trustee Reister, support.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Reister. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right,
And
thank
that's
you.
my report.
Thank you, sir.
I didn't have to write anything down either.
Show off. This is a time for citizens' comments or anything that's on their mind. This would be the time to do so. If you would, if you'd step up to the podium and state your name and address, that'd be great. Appreciate it.
I've been here before, but Tammy Hamilton, 210 West Washington Street. Noise, dogs, blight. Blight. I called the police twice in 1 week. Neighbors, Vickers. I let my dog out a week ago Sunday, and the back of my fence, 2 pit bulls charged at my dog. We've had this problem before with this address. They have a boat. I looked out, noticed the boat was gone. Was pretty sure they were likely gone. I rounded the corner and headed north towards the grocery store. I wasn't even at the first driveway before I was charged on the sidewalk with the dogs. And my neighbor there was hollering, "Don't go over there." So I hollered at the dogs, turned around, didn't run, just stood my ground slightly, crossed the street to see, like, was there a fence open? Was there a door open? Was there a reason these dogs were out? I saw nothing. I went home and I called the police. Animal control called me. They asked me where the dogs were currently. Were they on their property? I said, currently, yes. If they're on their property, there's nothing they can do. I said, they are not contained. They told me they didn't need to be. So I stood at my kitchen window watching and praying nothing was going to happen. And I see them charging off the porch anytime anybody came near. So I got in my car and drove that way. And then I did see an officer parked in the driveway. But I saw, I finally called back and I said, you don't understand what I'm telling you. These houses are right next to each other. This is a heavy foot traffic area. Just waiting for something to happen is insanity, because the likelihood that something's going to happen is pretty high. So after I saw the cop, I came back around to my driveway. There were 2 teenagers in the front lawn petting a cat. And I said, if you're going that direction, be very careful. There's 2 dogs to the north. They're like, pit bulls? And I said, yeah. They're like, we were just down at the park. They chased me. And one girl's like, look at my sweatshirt. And I said, you need to go talk to the officer. Better yet, get in my car and I'll drive you because I want you to be safe. So we pulled up to the officer, had a quick conversation. He said, yeah, I definitely need to talk to you. And he was kind of looking for a safe place. And I said, you can come park in my driveway. I'm just right around the corner. So he spoke with the girls quickly, asked for contact information. The girl gave him a number. I asked the girls where they were headed. I wanted to make sure they were safe. They said they lived over on Mill. They felt safe going home. The officer went back to the scene. The girls walked home. He knocked on my door about 10 minutes later and asked if I knew the girls. And I said, no, they were just walking past my house. Well, the number that they gave was he wasn't able to get through. So, not shocked. The girl had to look at her phone. What teenage girl does not know her phone number by heart? I wasn't shocked. But I've had problems with these neighbors over and over. The first time we tried to be neighborly, and my husband walked over there and politely asked them to turn the noise down, and basically they threatened to beat the shit out of him. So I don't walk by on that side of the sidewalk. If I have to go to Fred's or the grocery store, I walk by on the other side of the sidewalk. I'm very careful about letting my dog out in my yard. I have 0 interaction with these people. And animal control asked me, well, don't you have their phone number? Not everybody is friendly with their neighbors. I mean, I live in an area where there's a fair amount of turnover with rentals. I don't get to know the people that when they come and go every 6 months to a year. And these people have not been friendly towards me. So why would I go the extra mile to be friendly to them? I'm more concerned about my property and my animals and my own safety. So that was that. I dealt with Officer Reyes then, and that case number is 330. And then on Friday night, I was working on my deck, palm sanding my deck, and the noise was so loud between these neighbors and Vickers that I could hear it over my palm sander. And I called the police again, and of course they went to both places. The neighbors admitted that they had friends and family over and that they were loud and they had no intention of continuing. I call BS because they've done it before, and just because you say it doesn't mean that's what your behavior is going to be. And then Vickers, the officer did go to Vickers and speak with them, but I don't think it was a very long conversation because he called me and said he got called away on another matter, which I fully understand. I mean, I don't want them to have to go do this. There are much more important things they need to be doing. But I'm so frustrated. I am so frustrated with the noise. I could have called Saturday night, but I don't want to be the neighborhood Karen. I don't want to be the person that they're like, oh, it's her again. And the blight, I sent Gail some pictures. I mean, I took a picture. 113 is the little alley from the hardware store out to Michigan Ave. The pricker bushes are taller than I am. I'm pretty sure that place has been vacant for a long, long, long time. Yes, I like probably somewhere around 10 years would be my guess, because I have not seen any activity. I did look on the Schoolcraft Township site today, and there is an owner listed. I mean, I don't know if you have outstanding taxes on it, but at some point, I would think somebody would be fined, or the village would take care of it and turn the charges over to somebody. So, and that's not the only one. I mean, the neighbor by me too has 2 couches that have been outside in the driveway, and there was a box spring down the hill from me. There was a recliner over towards the tennis courts. I mean, it's not an isolated incident, is what I'm saying.
We appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Sorry you're having to go through this. I appreciate what you had done with those young girls and looking out for other people too. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks. So let's move on to our time. To Trustee Reister. Trustee Olson.
First of all, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. I remember how many times when we were at the library having council meetings before I got on the council, and I was the only one sitting out there. And I got those stares when they asked for citizens' time. Had an incident earlier this week. Karen wanted me to run out and grab something for lunch, and so I went to one of my favorite places, the Dog House. And silly me, I walked out and left my wallet sitting on the kitchen counter. And I go, oh geez. So anyhow, there was a DTE employee there cashing out same time I should have been, and he was very nice and paid for my lunch. I felt it necessary to call DTE and thank them personally. Don't ask me his name because I can't pronounce it, but they knew who he was and they were going to thank him personally and probably reimburse him the money that he spent. So I thought it was quite a nice gesture. He didn't need to do it. I could have run home and got the cash, but I do appreciate what they do for us. So thank you.
Trustee Reister. Oh, no. Trustee Wagner. She's always right here.
Just wanted to voice some thanks to Manager Mallory and staff. I know we meet less frequently in the summer, so thank you for your continued involvement and keeping us up to date in the interim. Thanks to Don Rotella, John DeBalt for, again, volunteering to be on that the assignment to the Planning Commission DDA, as well as our hopefully new member, Mr. Riashi, as well. Thank you for your service and being involved with the village. That's all I have this evening.
President Frisbee, if I can, and usually I don't, but I wanted to make sure Ms. Hamilton was aware, the owners of those dogs, whether it was, might have been today, but they've been cited by animal control and the dogs were placed in quarantine. Okay. Okay.
Thank you much. I don't have much. We'll drop it pretty quick. But Jim, I just want to. Seriously, I gotta let him go. Mr. Keller.
It won't take long, I promise. Redhead stepchild, I swear. I'm reminding everybody that this weekend is the famous Vicksburg Lions Summerfest, known as the B&B. I will be down there basically all weekend. I think Mr. Wagner is going to come down and help me out Saturday night with a to-be-determined friend, so
It is approved, another apprentice with the local electricians union.
very good. So Saturday night, we're having Hair Mania, so we're expecting a huge crowd, so looking forward to it. I do appreciate the gentleman that was here about the dangerous buildings. Just so everyone knows, the first one that he spoke about has been kitty corner for my house I've lived in that house almost 32 years and it's been vacant 32 years. So this has been an issue since I got on the council that I've quietly kept in front of staff to, we need to do something, we need to do something. So I'm glad that this is coming around because a lot of the residents on my side of town were getting a little agitated about it as well. So, and welcome to the new board members on the planning commission, so.
Yeah, we look forward to working with Mr. Rashi. And Jim, I want to thank you personally so much for what you've done to help the fire board with, lining up and looking at a bigger picture than what they were looking at from getting some money around it. So that was very much appreciated, I know. So thank you. And with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Motion adjourned.
I'll second it, by the way.